Ulysses by James Joyce. The sun rose over Dublin on June 16, 1904, casting light on the Martello Tower in Sandy Cove, where Stephen Dedalus, a young teacher and aspiring artist, stirred from restless sleep. The tower, a squat fortress by the sea, housed Stephen, his friend Buck Mulligan, a medical student, and Haynes, an Englishman with an interest in Irish folklore. Buck, jovial and irreverent, shaved on the tower's parapet, mocking Stephen's brooding nature and Jesuit upbringing. Stephen, still mourning his mother's death a year prior, felt alienated, his thoughts darting between guilt over refusing her dying wish for prayer and his struggle to define himself as an artist. The trio breakfasted, but tension simmered. Stephen resented Haynes's presence and Buck's mockery. After a swim, Stephen resolved to leave the tower, handing over the key to Buck. His thoughts a whirl of Shakespeare, theology, and personal loss. Across town, Leopold Bloom, a Jewish advertising canvasser, began his day at 7 Eccles Street. At 40, Bloom was a man of routine, his mind practical yet curious, flitting between mundane details and fleeting fantasies. He prepared breakfast for his wife, Molly, a concert singer, fetching kidneys from the butcher and savoring their faint tang as he cooked. Molly, still in bed, received her mail, a letter from Blazes Boylan, her concert manager and lover. Bloom, aware of her infidelity but suppressing the pain, served her tea and toast. His thoughts wandered to his daughter, Millie, away in Mullingar, and his son, Rudy, dead in infancy 11 years ago. After breakfast, Bloom retreated to the outhouse with a newspaper, his mind a collage of advertising ideas, digestion, and distant memories of courtship with Molly on Howth Head. Stephen, now wandering Sandymount Strand, wrestled with his intellect and identity. His thoughts spiraled through philosophy, Aristotle's theories of perception, and the ephemerality of life as he gazed at the sea, its snot-green hue a reminder of his mother's deathbed. He scribbled poetry, his artist's soul grappling with Dublin's constraints and his own ambition. A stray dog and a couple on the beach interrupted his reverie, prompting musings on life cycles and his refusal to conform. Bloom, meanwhile, set out for a funeral. At 10 a.m., he boarded a carriage with Martin Cunningham, Jack Power, and Simon Dedalus, Stephen's father, to attend the burial of Paddy Dignam, a drinking acquaintance who died suddenly of heart failure. The carriage ride through Dublin's bustling streets stirred Bloom's thoughts. Memories of his father's suicide, his son's death, and the city's mix of vitality and decay. At Glasnevin Cemetery, the somber service unfolded, Dignam's coffin lowered into the earth. Bloom's mind, ever practical, calculated coffin dimensions and advertising prospects, yet he felt a pang of empathy for Dignam's widow and children. An encounter with a mysterious man in a Macintosh deepened his sense of life's enigmas. By late morning, Stephen taught a history lesson at Mr. Deasy's school in Dalkey. The headmaster, a unionist with anti-Semitic views, lectured Stephen on thrift and history, urging him to deliver a letter about foot and mouth disease to a newspaper. Stephen, restless and disdainful, saw history as a nightmare from which he sought to awake. His students, impatient for hockey, barely registered his distracted teaching. Afterward, Stephen headed to the Freeman's Journal office, his thoughts weaving through Irish mythology and his own artistic destiny. Bloom, too, visited the newspaper offices, seeking to place an ad for Alexander Keyes, a tea merchant. The bustling newsroom, filled with clattering presses and sharp-witted editors, hummed with Dublin's pulse. Bloom negotiated with the foreman, Nanetti, while Stephen, nearby, submitted Deasy's letter. Their paths nearly crossed, but they remained strangers, each absorbed in his own world. Bloom in commerce, Stephen in intellect. Bloom's thoughts flitted to Molly, Boylan's impending visit that afternoon, and a bath he planned to take, his mind a kaleidoscope of desire and distraction. At noon, Bloom wandered to Davy Byrne's pub for a gorgonzola sandwich and a glass of Burgundy. The pub's familiar faces, Nosy Flynn, Davy Byrne, sparked casual chat, but Bloom's thoughts lingered on Molly, her curves and their shared past. He reflected on the day's encounters, from Dignam's funeral to a chance sighting of Boylan, whose swagger fueled Bloom's unease. Outside, he glimpsed a young woman, tempted to follow but restrained by propriety, his mind oscillating between lust and loyalty. Stephen, meanwhile, lingered in the National Library, debating literary theory with scholars like John Eglinton and George Russell. Their discussion of Shakespeare's Hamlet, Stephen's theory that Hamlet's ghost was the playwright himself, wrestling with betrayal and paternity, revealed his intellectual audacity but also his isolation. Buck Mulligan joined, teasing Stephen, who felt increasingly detached, his mind a labyrinth of symbols and self-doubt. By mid-afternoon, Bloom lunched at the Ormond Hotel's dining room, where Simon Dedalus and others sang and bantered. Boylan, present briefly, departed for his rendezvous with Molly, leaving Bloom to grapple with jealousy through the music of the Croppy Boy and Mapari. His thoughts drifted to Molly's voice, her allure, and his own sideline desires. Yet he wrote a letter to Martha Clifford, a woman he corresponded with under a pseudonym, seeking a private thrill. On Sandymount Strand, Stephen's sister Dilly and their impoverished family weighed on his mind. He encountered her buying a French primer, a symbol of her thwarted aspirations. Guilt over his refusal to support the family clashed with his determination to pursue art. His thoughts a turbulent stream of poetry, history, and rebellion. Bloom, drawn to Nighttown, Dublin's red light district, followed Stephen, who was drunk and disoriented after drinking with medical students. At Bella Cohen's brothel, Stephen's intoxication unleashed hallucinatory visions, his mother's ghost, accusing him of betrayal. An apocalyptic imagery of guilt and ruin. Bloom, protective despite their lack of acquaintance, rescued Stephen from a scuffle with soldiers, his paternal instinct stirred by memories of Rudy. They stumbled to a cabman's shelter, where Bloom offered Stephen coffee and a bun, their conversation stilted but kind, touching on politics, religion, and their shared Dublin. Exhausted, Bloom invited Stephen to 7 Eccles Street. In the kitchen, over cocoa, they shared a rare moment of connection, discussing Jewish and Irish identity, science, and language. Stephen, wary of entanglement, declined Bloom's offer to stay the night. As he left, their shared urination under the stars marked a quiet human bond, the garden of fleeting Eden. Bloom, alone, reflected on his day, Dignam's death, Molly's infidelity, Stephen's potential, before climbing into bed beside Molly, who slept with her feet at his head, a reversal of their old intimacy. In the darkness, Molly Bloom lay awake, her thoughts a torrent of memory, desire, and defiance. She recalled her girlhood in Gibraltar, her lovers, her marriage to Bloom, and her afternoon with Boylan, his vigor contrasting with Bloom's gentleness. She resented Bloom's passivity, yet cherished his quirks, his love of her feet, his breakfasts in bed. Her mind roamed over her singing career, her daughter Millie's independence, and Rudy's loss, which fractured their marriage. She pondered Bloomsday, his kindness to Stephen, and his unspoken pain over her affair. As dawn neared, Molly's thoughts circled back to their youth on Howth Head, where Bloom proposed, a kiss amid rhododendrons sealing her choice. Yes, she thought, affirming life, love, and her own unyielding spirit. And I said, yes, I will, yes.